We going? We going.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, wow. Well, welcome back to it's public domain with Kyle Kinane. And shit changed since last time. Yeah, I recorded chapter 5 before the world went to shit, and now here we are. Back in the public domain studios / survival bunker in case the worst happens. That's why this was I'm gonna suggest it's been non-monetized effort, just me doing a thing, but we've been getting into the BL Celts tonight. But I'm gonna, each one of these chapters from going on forward, I'm gonna mention a charity that I will give to, and I hope you will too. And so for chapter 6, charity, I took some suggestions on Twitter, and if you have them, let me know. I was kind of struggling with what I could do to help in all this. And somebody told me about a charity called GiveTogetherNow.org. I was trying to find mutual aid a charity, something that was kind of more of a sweeping gesture at first, and then the more chapters we get through, because I'm going to be double timing on recording these, and not like I got shit to do otherwise. Probably some more specific charities. I'm mostly concerned about my friends and folks that are in the service industry, particularly ones working at comedy clubs, you know, where I get to work as long as they are able to work. So that'll be going forward, but Give Together Now. I'm trying to raise $3 million for people in the hospitality industry, people over the age of 60 with underlying conditions, and for people that are still having to go to work because they do not have any kind of financial safety net right now. So that's what I'm going to start with, GiveTogetherNow.org. Hopefully it's on the screen here now. Go to that website. Let's all chip in a few bucks if you can. I know these are not easy times to part with money when we're all worried about where our next paycheck is coming from. But let's try and help where we can. Outside of that, I hope you're all well, sincerely. And also, yeah, people are reading books online for the quarantine. Yeah, way to. What's up, Johnny Come Latelys? What's up, Josh Gad Come Latelys? No, I got no problem with them. Only even LeVar Burton's trying to bring back Reading Rainbow. Dog, I'm here right now. All right, so let's get back into Dracula. It's been a little while. Chapter 5 was the letters between Mina and the other gal. Chapter 6, Mina Murray's journal. So, yeah, let's get into it. It's been a while for me too, so I might have to refresh, but I'm gonna wet my whistle and we'll get into it. GiveTogetherNow.org. Mina Murray's journal, chapter 6. 24 July, Whitby. Lucy met me at the station. Shit, already started bad. Lucy met me at the station, looking sweeter and lovelier than ever. And we drove up to the house at the Crescent in which they have rooms. This is a lovely place. A little river, the Esk, runs through a deep valley, which broadens out as it comes near the harbor. A great viaduct runs across, with high piers, though which the view seems somehow further away than it really is. The valley is beautifully green, and it is so steep that when you are on the high land on either side, you look right across it, unless you are near enough to see down. The houses of the old town, the side away from us, are all red-roofed, and seem piled up one over the other anyhow, like the pictures we see of Nuremberg. Right over the town is the ruin of Whitby Abbey, which was sacked by the Danes, and which is the scene of part of Marmion, where the girl was built up in the wall. It is a most noble ruin of immense size, and full of beautiful and romantic bits. There is a legend that a white lady is seen in one of the windows. Ooh, a white lady in Europe at this time? Who would have thought? Between it and the town there is another church, the parish one, round which is a big graveyard, all full of tombstones. This is to my mind the nicest spot in Whitby, for it lies right over the town and has a full view of the harbor and all up the bay to where the headland called Kettleness stretches out into the sea. It descends so steeply over the harbor that part of the bank has fallen away, and some of the graves have been destroyed. In one place, part of the stonework of the grave stretches out over the sandy pathway far below. There are walks with seats besides them through the churchyard, and people go and sit there all day long looking at the beautiful view and enjoying the breeze. I shall come and sit here very often myself and work. Indeed, I am writing now with my book on my knee and listening to the talk of 3 old men who are sitting beside me. They seem to do nothing all day but sit up here and talk. I know that life. The harbor lies below me, with, on the far side, one long granite wall stretching out into the sea, with a curve outwards at the end of it, in the middle of which is a lighthouse. A heavy seawall runs along outside of it. On the near side, the seawall makes an elbow crooked inversely, and its end too has a lighthouse. Between the 2 piers there is a narrow opening into the harbor, which then suddenly widens. It is nice at high water, but when the tide is out, it shoals away to nothing, and there's merely the stream of the Esk running between the banks of sand, with rocks here and there. Outside the harbor, on this side, there rises for about half a mile a great reef, the sharp edge of which runs straight out from behind the south lighthouse. At the end of it is a buoy with a bell, which swings in bad weather and sends in a mournful sound on the wind. They have a legend here that when a ship is lost, bells are heard out at sea. I must ask the old man about this. He is coming this way. He is a funny old man. He must be awfully old, for his face is all gnarled and twisted like the bark of a tree. Easy, Mina. He tells me that he is nearly 100, and that he was a sailor in the Greenland fishing fleet when Waterloo was fought. He is, I am afraid, a very skeptical person, for when I asked him about the bells at sea and the White Lady at the Abbey, he said very brusquely, I wouldn't fash massel about them, miss. Them things be all wore out. Mind, I don't say that they never was, but I do say that they wasn't in my time. They be all very well for cummers and trippers and the like, but not for a nice young lady like you. Them feet folks from York and Leeds that be always eating cured herons and drinking tea and looking out to buy cheap jet would creed aught. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I wonder, Massel, who'd be bothered telling lies to them, even the newspapers, which is full of fool talk. This guy sounds like a real trip. I thought he would be a good person to learn interesting things from, so I asked him if he would mind telling me something about the whale fishing in the old days. He was just settling himself to begin when the clock struck 6, whereupon he labored to get up and said, I must gang Aegean words home now, miss. My granddaughter doesn't like to be kept waiting when the tea is ready, for it takes me time to crammel aboon the grease. Crammel aboon the grease. For there be a many of 'em, and miss, I lack belly timber sairly by the clock. I don't have a goddamn idea what that guy just said. He hobbled away, and I could see him hurrying as well as he could down the steps. The steps are a great feature on this place. They lead from the town up to the church. There are hundreds of them. I do not know how many, and they wind up in a delicate curve. The slope is so gentle that a horse could easily walk up and down them. I think they must originally have had something to do at the Abbey. I shall go home too. Lucy went out visiting her with her mother, and as they were on only duty calls, I did not go. They will be home by this. 1 August. I came up here an hour ago with Lucy, and we had a most interesting talk with my old friend and the 2 others who always come and join him. He is evidently the Sir Oracle of them, and I should think must have been in his time a most dictatorial person. He will not admit anything and downfaces everybody. If he can't out-argue them, he bullies them, and he takes their silence for agreement with his views. Lucy was looking sweetly pretty in her white lawn frock. She has got a beautiful color since she has been here. I noticed that the old men did not lose any time in coming up and sitting near her when we sat down. She is so sweet with old people. I think they all fell in love with her on the spot. Even my old man succumbed and did not contradict her, but gave me a double share instead. I'm not trying to be sexist, but these ladies' journals are a drag. I hope it's got something to do with Dracula. Come on. Strawberry! I got him on the subject of the legends, and he went off at once into a sort of sermon. I must try to remember it and put it down. Here we go with this guy. It'd be all fool talk, lock, stock, and barrel, that would it be, and nowt else. These bands and waffs and bow ghosts and barguests and boggles and all, and then them is only fit to set bairns and dizzy women a bouldering. What the fuck? They be now but air blebs. They and all grims and signs and warnings be all invented by parsons and ilsome butte bodies and railway toters to skeer and scunner halflins and to get. This is page 56. Get the book. Go to it. This isn't. Makes me fretful to think why it's them that know content with printing lies on paper and preaching them out of pulpits does want to be cutting them on the tombstone. This fucking chapter sucks. You know, look, this guy is just babbling. Okay, by the end of it, I could see from the old fellow's self-satisfied air and the way in which he looked round for approval of his cronies that he was showing off. So I put a word in to keep him going. Oh, Mr. Swales, you can't be serious. Surely these tombstones are not all wrong. So that's, I guess all this babbling was that the tombstones are wrong. I said babbling as a word of my own. The next sentence from this old fool is yabblins. Yabblins, there may be a poorish few not wrong, savin' where they make out the people too good. For there be folk that do think a balm bowl be like the sea, if only it be their... Fuck this guy. When I came back, this guy's just talking about who died at sea. You think that all these men will have to make a rush to Whitby when the trumpet sounds? I have me antherums aboot it. I tell you that when they be jommling and jostling. What? I'm not reading this asshole's yammers. He's sitting up. Okay, he left after talking about the graveyard to the ladies. Lucy and I sat a while, and it was all so beautiful before us that we took hands as we sat. And she told me all over again about Arthur and their coming marriage. That made me just a little heartsick, for I haven't heard from Jonathan for a whole month. The same day, I came up here alone, for I am very sad. There was no letter for me. I hope there cannot be anything the matter with Jonathan. The clock has struck 9. I see the lights scattered all over the town, sometimes in rows where the streets are, and sometimes singly. They run right up the Esk and die away in the curve of the valley. To my left, the view is cut off by a black line of roof of the old house next the abbey. The sheep and lambs are bleating in the fields away behind me, and there is a clatter of a donkey's hooves up the paved road below. The band on the pier is playing a harsh waltz in good time. And further along the quay there is a Salvation Army meeting in a back street. Neither of the bands hear the other, but up here I hear and see them both. I wonder where Jonathan is and if he is thinking of me. I wish he were here. This chapter sucks, I'm sorry. Dr. Seward's diary. 5th June, the case of Renfeld grows more interesting the more I get to understand the man. He has certain qualities very largely developed: selfishness, secrecy, and purpose. I wish I could get at what is the object of the latter. He seems to have some settled scheme of his own, but what it is I do not know. His redeeming quality is a love of animals, though indeed he has had such curious turns in it that I sometimes imagine he is only abnormally cruel. His pets are of odd sorts. Just now his hobby is catching flies. He has at present such a quantity that I have had myself to expostulate. This book got boring as shit. Strawberry. To my astonishment, he did not break out into a fury as I expected, but took the matter in simple seriousness. He thought for a moment and then said, "May I have 3 days? I shall clear them away." Of course, I said that would do. I must watch him. 18 June. He has turned his mind now to spiders and has got several very big fellows in a box. He keeps feeding them with his flies, and the number of the latter is becoming sensibly diminished, although he has used half his food in attracting more flies from outside to his room. 1 July. His spiders are now becoming as great a nuisance as the flies. and today I told him he must get rid of them. He looked very sad at this, so I said that he must clear out some of them at all events. He cheerfully acquiesced in this, and I gave him the same time as before reduction. He disgusted me much with him, for when a horrid blowfly, bloated with some carrion food, buzzed into the room, he caught it, held it exultantly for a few moments between his finger and thumb, and, before I knew what he was going to do, put it in his mouth and ate it. Oh, damn. I scolded him for it, but he argued quietly that it was very good and very wholesome, that it was life, strong life, and it gave life to him. This gave me an idea, or the rudiment of one. I must watch how he gets rid of his spiders. He has evidently some deep problem in his mind, for he keeps a little notebook in which he is always jotting down something. Whole pages of it are filled with masses of figures, generally single numbers added up in batches, and then the totals added in batches again, as though he were focusing some account, as auditors put it. 8 July. There is a method in his madness, and the rudimentary idea in my mind is growing. It will be a whole idea soon, and then, unconscious cerebration. You'll have to give the wall to your conscious brother. I kept away from my friend for a few days so that I might notice if there were any change. Things remain as they were, except that he has parted with some of his pets and got a new one. He has managed to get a sparrow and has already partially tamed it. His means of taming is simple, for already the spiders have diminished. Those that do remain, however, are well fed, for he still brings in the flies by tempting them with his food. 19 July. We are progressing. My friend has now a whole colony of sparrows, and his flies and spiders are almost obliterated. When I came in, he ran to me and said he wanted to ask me a great favor, a very, very great favor. And as he spoke, he fawned on me like a dog. I asked him what it was, and he said, with a sort of rapture in his voice and bearing, a kitten, a nice little sleek, playful kitten that I can play with and teach and feed and feed and feed. I was not unprepared for this request, for I had noticed how his pets went on increasing in size and vivacity. But I did not care that his pretty family of tame sparrows should be wiped out in the same manner as the flies and the spiders. So I said I would see about it, and asked him if he would not rather have a cat than a kitten. His eagerness betrayed him as he answered, "Oh, yes, I would like a cat. I only asked for a kitten lest you should refuse me a cat. No one would refuse me a kitten, would they?" I shook my head and said that at present I feared it would not be possible, but that I would see about it. His face fell, and I could see a warning of danger in it, for there was a sudden fierce sidelong look which meant killing. The man is an undeveloped homicidal maniac. I shall test him with his present craving and see how it will work out. Then I shall know more. All right. 10 p.m. I have visited him again and found him sitting in a corner, brooding. When I came in, he threw himself on his knees before me and implored me to let him have a cat, that his salvation depended upon it. I was firm, however, and told him that he could not have it. Whereupon he went without a word and sat down, gnawing his fingers in the corner where I had found him. I shall see him in the morning, early. What's going on here? Who is? I forgot who Renfield was. I'll go back. Maybe you might remember. 20 July. Visited Renfield very early, before the attendant went his rounds. Found him up and humming a tune. He was spreading out his sugar, which he had saved, in the window, and was manifestly beginning his fly-catching again, and beginning it cheerfully and with a good grace. I looked around for his birds, and not seeing them, asked him where they were. He replied, without turning round, that they had all flown away. There were a few feathers about the room, on his pillow a drop of blood. I said nothing, but went and told the keeper to report to me if there were anything odd about him during the day. How about him right now? He ate all his damn birds. 11 a.m. The attendant has just been to me to say that Renfield has been very sick and has disgorged a whole lot of feathers. Damn. My belief is, doctor, he said, that he has eaten his birds and that he just took and ate them raw. This motherfucker eating raw birds. I gave Renfield a strong opiate tonight, enough to make even him sleep, and took away his pocketbook to look at it. The thought that has been buzzing about my brain lately is complete, and the theory proved. My homicidal maniac is of a peculiar kind. I shall have to invent a new classification for him, and call him a zoophagous maniac, life-eating, zoophagous, Z-O-O-O Motley Crue dots, P-H-A-G-O-U-S, parentheses, life-eating maniac. So zoophagous maniac. What a handle. What he desires is to absorb as many lives as he can, and he has laid himself out to achieve it in a cumulative way. He gave many flies to one spider and many spiders to one bird, and then wanted a cat to eat the many birds. What would have been his latter steps? I like that. Going like turducken, but with every species. It would almost be worthwhile to complete the experiment. There you go. It might be done if there were only a sufficient cause. Men sneered at vivisection, and yet look at its results today. Why not advance science in its most difficult and vital aspect, the knowledge of the brain? Had I even the secret of one such mind, did I hold the key to the fancy of even one lunatic, I might advance my own branch of science to a pitch compared with which Burton Sanderson's physiology or Ferrier's brain knowledge would be as nothing. If only there were a sufficient cause. I must not think too much of this, or I may be tempted. A good cause might turn the scale with me. For may not I too be of an exceptional brain, congenitally? How well the man reasoned. Lunatics always do within their own scope. I wonder at how many lives he values a man, or if at only one. He has closed the account most accurately, and today begun a new record. How many of us begin a new record with each day of our lives? To me, it seemed only yesterday that my whole life ended with my new hope, and that truly I began a new record. So it will be until the great recorder sums me up and closes my ledger account with a balance to profit or loss. Oh, Lucy, Lucy, I cannot be angry with you, nor can I be angry with my friend whose happiness is yours. But I must only wait on, hopeless, and work. Work! If only I could have as strong a cause as my poor mad friend there. A good, unselfish cause to make me work. That would be indeed happiness. Mina Murray's journal. Here we go with this, broad. 26 July. I am anxious, and it soothes me to express myself here. It is like whispering to oneself and listening at the same time. And there is also something about the shorthand symbols that makes it different from writing. I am unhappy about Lucy and about Jonathan. I had not heard from Jonathan for some time and was very concerned, but yesterday dear Mr. Hawkins, who was always so kind, sent me a letter from him. I had written asking him if he had heard, and he said the enclosed had just been received. It is only a line dated from the Castle Dracula, and it says that he is just starting for home. That is not like Jonathan. I do not understand it, and it makes me uneasy. Then, too, Lucy, although she is so well, has lately taken to her old habit of walking in her sleep. Her mother has spoken to me about it, and we have decided that I am to lock the door of our room every night. Mrs. Westenra has got an idea that sleepwalkers always go out on roofs of houses and along the edge of cliffs, and then they get suddenly wakened and fall over with a despairing cry that echoes all over the place. Poor dear, she is naturally anxious about Lucy, and she tells me that her husband, Lucy's father, had the same habit, and he would get up in the night and dress himself and go out. If he were not stopped, Lucy is to be married. Lucy is to be married in the autumn, and she is already planning out her dresses, and now her house is to be arranged. I sympathize with her, for I do the same. Only Jonathan and I will start in life in a very simple way, and she'll have to try and make both ends meet. Mr. Holmwood, he is the Honorable Arthur Holmwood, only son of Lord Godalming, is coming up here very shortly, as soon as he can leave town, for his father is not well. And I think dear Lucy is counting the moments till he comes. She wants to take him up to the seat on the churchyard cliff and show him the beauty of Whitby. I dare say it is the waiting which disturbs her. She will be all right when he arrives. 27 July. No news from Jonathan. I'm getting quite uneasy about him, though. Though why I should, I do not know. But I do wish that he would write, if we're only a single line. Lucy walks more than ever, and each night I am awakened by her moving about the room. Fortunately, the weather is so hot that she cannot get cold. But still, the anxiety and the perpetually being wakened is beginning to tell on me. And I am getting nervous and wakeful myself. Thank God Lucy's health keeps up. Mr. Holmwood has been suddenly called to Ring to see his father, who has been taken seriously ill. Lucy frets at the postponement of seeing him, but it does not touch her looks. She is a trifle stouter, and her cheeks are a lovely rose pink. She has lost that anemic look which she had. I pray it will all last. 3rd August. Another week gone, and no news from Jonathan, not even to Mr. Hawkins, for whom I have heard. Oh, I do hope he is not ill. He surely would have written. He didn't write, she's sad. I fucking got it. Oh, I do hope he is not ill. He surely would have written. I look at that last letter but somehow it does not satisfy me. It does not read like him, and yet it is his writing. There is no mistake of that. Lucy has not walked much in her sleep the last week, but there is an odd concentration about her which I do not understand. Even in her sleep, she seems to be watching me. She tries the door. Finding it locked, she goes about the room, searching for the key. 6 August, another 3 days, no news. The suspense is getting dreadful. If I only knew where to write or where to go, I should feel... I'm done with this fucking chapter. She's sad. She's looking out there. She's sitting on her seat looking at the water. This old fucking idiot comes by. Okay, here. I have been quite touched by the change in the poor old man. When he sat down beside me, he said in a very gentle way, I want to say something to you, miss. I could see he was not at ease, so I took his poor old wrinkled hand in mine and asked him to speak fully. So he said, leaving his hand in mine, I'm afraid, my dearie, that I must have shocked you by all the wicked things I've been saying about the dead and such like for weeks past. I guess whatever he was going off on was about the dead people, whatever, in the graveyard. But, just about the dead people. The stories about the dead people. I'm afraid, my dearie, that I must have shocked you by all the wicked things I've been saying about the dead and such, like for weeks past, but I didn't mean them, and I didn't want you to remember that when I'm gone. We old folks that be daffled and with one foot abaft the croak hole don't altogether like to think of it, and we don't want to feel scarred of it, and that's why I've been making light of it, so I'd cheer up my own heart a bit. But Lord love you, miss, I ain't afraid to die, not a bit. Only I don't want to die if I can help it. My time must be nigh at hand now, for I be old, and 100 years is too much for any man, except I'm so nigh that the old man is already whetting his scythe. You see, I can't get out the habit of caffing about it all at once. The chaffs will wag. Then she was crying. He's okay with dying. Oh, but content's coming for me, blah, don't worry, I'm old. Maybe it's in what wind out over the sea that's bringing with it loss and wreck and swords and say, look, he cried suddenly. There's something in that wind and in the host beyond that sounds and looks and tastes and smells like death. It's in the air, I feel it coming, Lord. Make me answer cheerful when my call comes. He held up his arms devoutly and raised his hat. His mouth moved as though he were praying. After a few minutes' silence, he got up, shook hands with me and blessed me and said goodbye and hobbled off. It all touched me and upset me very much. I was glad when the Coast Guard came along with his spyglass under his arm. He stopped to talk with me as he always does, but all the time he kept looking at the strange ship. I can't make her out, he said. She's a Russian by the look of her, but she's knocking about in the queerest way. She doesn't know her mind a bit. She seems to see the storm coming, but it can't decide whether to run up north in the open or put in here. Look there again. She is steering mighty strangely, for she doesn't mind the hand on the wheel. Changes about with every puff of wind. We'll hear more of her before this time tomorrow. All right. Sorry for skipping around. Go get it yourself. It's written in the same cadence as the guy who's talking anyways. Thanks. That was chapter 6. chapter 7 is coming up, obviously, because that's how numbers works. GiveTogetherNow.org is the charity for this chapter. And take care of yourselves. Yeah. I'm going to get a better chair.